Secretary General of the People's Tribunal, Gianni Tognoni, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you. So let's start with how do you view the conditions of Öcalan's health? What is Turkish state aiming by isolating Mr. Öcalan?
But I think that I am sharing the big worries, as I am also a medical doctor, of a person who is in such isolation for such a long time with no connection, which is in itself a real torture, because the isolation is an inhumane treatment. We are humans, we are communicating regularly, can choose what to do and how to connect. And I am simply worried, and the many appeals which have been raised for Ocalan, who is the possibly the longest isolated person in the world, are in fact apparently unheard or denied by the Turkish government. And that is even more dramatic because the public opinion and the international state community should really join that, because this is in itself a violation of fundamental rights which should be guaranteed by the international law and general civil society rules.
During the peace negotiations between the Kurdish movement and the Turkish state, talks were held together with Öcalan on İmralı Island. What do you think is the importance of Öcalan for peaceful resolution of the Kurdish question?
I am obviously in my say duty and profession as Secretary General of the Permanent People Tribunal. I have been following closely both what has been the evolution of the Ocalan thinking and the books and proposals he has made despite the isolation. And on the other side, I am really admiring and following the different ways of resistance of the Kurdish population. What here again is really dramatic is that in face of a positive attitude and proposal, both from the point of view of the Ocalan, showing that the position he has and the Kurdish people has is in evolution, is open, is a proposal for peace, for dialogue, for investigating together an answer. On the other side is a kind of more than a silence, is the repetition of a denial which goes back to old reasons, old contraposition. That is classical strategy of all those who are refusing the existence of the partner. That is what happens in Myanmar now, is what happens most of the time in the government of Colombia boycotting the agreement of peace. Today, the dictatorships like that of Erdogan, with the implicit support, because the silence of the European Union, is in fact a strategy of war, because every denial of peace proposals is a declaration of war. And in that sense, is a permanent declaration of war against the existence, the dignity, the self-determination of the Kurdish population.
What do you think about Öcalan's ideas and his commitment to the peace in the region? Very short, very briefly.
The problem is that the local so-called situation is no more local, is a kind of global or geopolitical problem. On the one side, there is an ideology, but more pragmatically, this region has become a way of confronting and of making wars among the dominating powers. What is dramatic is in the sense that the Kurdish people has become one of the people who are used to be really exchanged in front of equilibria. Russia, Turkey, USA, Israel, absence of European Union. This region of the world should really request a new international conference in order not to have simply one-to-one treaty, because so many parties are involved, and the principle, really now the principle and worsening situation is the contraposition, I think, beside Turkey, which is perfectly responsible, the fact that Turkey is on the same side, one of the NATO country and of allies of Russia. So the Kurdish are becoming really, something to be exchanged. And because the main political interests are elsewhere, Erdogan could do whatever he likes with the insurance that nobody will attack him and his policy very strongly, because more global problems are involved, and the Kurdish people is really in fact of being considered a marginal issue instead of being a central issue. And the conference of peace should be already a big success if the Kurdish question could be, the Kurdish, especially in relation with Turkey, considered a central one and not simply a marginal one.
Since Öcalan's imprisonment, there has been a global campaign which is called Freedom for Öcalan. What do you think about this campaign and its importance for the achieving peace in the region? Very short, very briefly, please.
I could only support fully the campaign, but I must recognize that, as in the campaign for other prisoners, less possibly politically important like Assange and others, that the campaign today are in fact very important, but the states are in fact progressively considering campaign something which is expression of a civil opinion, which is not so important. So we must insist in campaign, but we should really try to transform the campaign into political support, at least from the European Parliament, which is more directly involved because of the relationship, the ambiguous relationship of Turkey with Europe. And that is the place where to push more for at least the position for Ocalan and a peace campaign.
Dear Gianni Tognoni, Secretary General of the People's Tribunal, thanks for joining us. Thank you for your valuable comments today.
Okay. Thanks to you. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.